Dr. Craig Albert is a leading expert on war, terrorism, and American politics with Augusta University. He's also testified before Congress on Islamic extremism. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Are you surprised that so much of the country has fallen so quickly? And do you think the fall of Kabul is all but imminent?
The fall of Kabul is imminent, absolutely. And I am surprised. I think most people are surprised in the intelligence community with how quickly the Taliban has been able to run across Afghanistan. I think our intelligence community thought we had about 90 days before the Taliban would do so, and they did it in a matter of days, really, since that intelligence estimate was released.
Are you concerned that Afghanistan will again become a hotbed of terrorism?
Absolutely. The one thing that the United States might be able to look at in a different way is that maybe they won't attack the United States and the United States' allies, because they've seen in the past that the United States will come in force. And of course, President Biden, though he might not be saying this openly, is going to maintain the right to drop air ordnance, special operation forces, insert them when needed if the Taliban do anything against the United States' national interests or its allies' interests. So the Taliban know that, and I think President Biden is probably letting them know that even more right now through those negotiations taking place.
And of course, this is America's longest war. Why should Americans care now what happens in Afghanistan on the other side of the world?
Well, when you have a rogue or a failed state, it tends to affect the entire international community. So when there's any state that lacks human rights or is oppressive towards its people, it's likely to take that oppression out towards other nation states as well. And that's what we saw in 2001 when the Taliban was allowing al-Qaeda to stay there. And so you have to worry that if they're going to do the same thing, rogue states typically export fear, export some type of terrorism against the United States. And that's what we have to be worried about now.
There is reporting today saying that President Ghani is going to resign, that is imminent. Is there any hope for the Afghan government to reach a deal or hold on to power in any way with the Taliban?
The only way they can reach a deal is if they agree to allow the Taliban to become a co-equal partner in governing Afghanistan. So you can imagine that that's going to create a lot of contestation in the world, a lot of resentment in the world, to allow what most people view as a fundamentalist group being able to partake in a government. The United States, most Western allies of the United States have said they will not recognize the Taliban as a legitimate government if they take over by force. So the only way they can become a legitimate force, a legitimate government, is by a governing structure with the legitimate government of Afghanistan now. But again, that's gonna look poorly on Afghanistan to allow a fundamentalist group inside the government legally.
So we just heard Felicia Bolton's reporting. Thousands of troops are going in for the drawdown. What will their role be? What does this look like? How does it play out?
As protection forces, mainly, they're going to have, escorting VIPs, escorting civilians that are there from the United States, doing everything they can to get citizens and political figures and embassy officials from wherever they might be in Afghanistan into Kabul, and from Kabul into the airport to get out of there. Right now, the Taliban is closing in on Kabul. They're closing in on the airport itself. They might be there, depending on how much the Afghanistan forces retaliate. Within some estimates could say by the end of today, others say a week or so. So they have to protect those individuals. The United States has asked the Taliban to kind of spare any fighting against the United States. So that's interesting to see if the Taliban will kind of heed the United States' wishes in the hope that the United States won't try to drop ordnance on them or decimate their forces en masse when they're circling Kabul.
And before I let you go, I want to ask what it means regionally for the region. Refugees are pouring in right now to Iran, to Pakistan. Do you see alliances shifting already?
Oh, absolutely. And you see different type of border enforcements being put in Russia, China, everywhere. They're getting ready to try to stop the flow of refugees or try to help in certain cases human rights atrocities from happening too much in that area. You'll see the balance of power completely shift in this area. And also you'll see Russia start to take a more dominant or predominant role in Afghanistan as well, trying to ensure its interest to make sure that the Taliban don't do anything against Russian national security.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, 1979, if I recall, that Americans aided and put money and arms into Afghanistan to fight the Soviets. Dr. Craig Alberts, thank you so much for your time tonight. Appreciate having you.
Thank you.